Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. But before I get started, every time I ever mention BRICS possibly utilizing RippleNet and XRP, right away the naysayers always say the same thing. Why would China choose to use US-based technology or a US-based company? I got to remind you, Ripple went global. They are now a global company. They literally have rails in every single country around the world for XRP to run on. And they're always expanding out those rails as well. The Chinese RMB was created as a reserve currency, the internationalization of China's currency. They want to take it international. That comes from Mr. Man. And then he said this, XRP certainly does solve this, which is why Ripple is the only fintech rails chosen during these pilots for the EHKD and participant in Project Victoria for real estate in China. Plus, you got to remember, BRICS Pay is built off of Project Bridge, which is also built upon RippleNet technology and the use of XRP as well. You see how all of this is coming together. China and the rest of these countries inside of the BRICS, they don't trust each other. So if China's sending money to Russia or Russia's sending money to India, it makes sense to have a trust layer in between. This way they could still utilize their own currency as well. They could send their currency into XRP. It comes out on the other end as the other country's currency. RippleNet and XRP fit the purpose that the BRICS are looking for. And that's why I think the fact that the BRICS are going to push away from SWIFT, RippleNet and XRP will be the best option. Japan is leading with Ripple, XRP, RLUSD. SBI Group not only invests in, but also provides various services through the JV jointly established with Ripple. Japan is leading in crypto adoption growth among the Asia-Pacific region's top 5 markets, seeing a 120% year-over-year increase in on-chain value received, according to Chainalysis. And it's because they're utilizing RippleNet and XRP. SBI was one of the very first adopters of XRP. Bahrain's central bank certifies XRP as Sharia-compliant for Islamic finance markets. More expansion. The certification enhances Ripple's appeal for cross-border payments in Islamic regions. XRP's ethical alignment with Islamic principles accelerates its institutional adoption as well. Rail after rail getting put in place all around the world. This is all starting to come together now. What we thought was going to take a decade is getting built out over the course of the last couple of years. And it looks like the system is almost complete. The AUDD and SGD are both on XRP Ledger and Stellar, not to mention Hedera as well. Coinbase is listing 2 new local stablecoins, AUDD and XSGD. You know, these stablecoins are already tied in with these other networks. But stablecoins, they're starting to get adoption everywhere. Like I said, RLUSD is going to be a big door opener for XRP. That gets Ripple in the door, and it also gets XRP in the door at the same time. Most of the people that are going to be utilizing RLUSD for payments, once they realize that it's even faster and even cheaper using XRP, they will absolutely do it. And there's a lot of talk about XRP yield. In some of the current offerings, we've seen 8 to 10% yields on XRP. I'll trade 3 to 5% of that yield for an insurance policy, insuring my XRP against loss with a major insurance company like Lloyd's of London. I'm sitting on the sidelines, keeping my XRP safe for now. And this is why you don't go for that high yield. Charles Ponzi, 1920, promised yields 50% in 45 days. Outcome, classic Ponzi scheme collapsed in under a year. Burning Madoff, 10 to 12% consistently. Total fraud, 65 billion in losses. Dot-com bubble, 20% plus expected returns. Bubble burst in 2000. Subprime mortgage CDOs, 8 to 15% on AAA rated. Massive mispricing of risk, 2008 collapse. Crypto lending, 12 to 20%. Celsius, Anchor, massive failures, billions lost. Private lending schemes, 15 to 20% or more. Often hard money lending, scams. Whenever you see them offering 10, 15, 20, I've even seen as high as 25% yield on these XRP yield options, you know you are going to end up losing your XRP. A great range, like I said in previous videos, would be 3 to 5%. And I think a lot of people are really overhyping this right now. And everybody on X is saying, I just got my yield, I just got my returns, massive returns. I think those people are paid to say that. They want you locking up your XRP and eventually losing your XRP. I will wait until risk-free options come out before I put up my XRP for passive income. Brad Garlinghouse says, one thing you know about the XRP community anywhere in the world, they show up in force. Huge congrats to XRP's Soul team on their first event. And we at Ripple are absolutely looking forward to the next. That comes from Brad Garlinghouse. And again, you know the XRP community. We are like a band, we're a family, banded together by common vision, by holding a common asset, because we all had the vision to see where it was going a long time ago. You don't even need vision for XRP anymore. You see it all coming together in real time. Yeah, that BlackRock XRP ETF is coming sooner or later. Nate Garossi says, my conversation with BlackRock's Robbie Mitchnick, and take a listen to what he says here. Now, right away, he knows there's an NDA in place. You'll pick up on that right out of the gate. Take a listen.
In terms of product development, let me ask you this, and you don't have to comment on the first part. And actually, I don't expect you to comment on the first part.
Probably won't then if you're prefacing it like that.
All right, so I have actually publicly predicted that BlackRock would file for a spot XRP ETF and a spot Solana ETF, which you have not yet done. And again, I'm not expecting you to comment on that at all. But what I will ask you is, how is BlackRock thinking about future product development around crypto-related ETFs? Because you have had these two massive success stories with IBIT and ETH. So certainly that has to have your attention. But what about moving forward?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of factors that go into that decision-making process, obviously. But the biggest driver ultimately is our clients, right? What is the level of investor demand? What is the logic and investment thesis for investors and for our clients around these potential products? What problem are we solving for them? And so when we think about other potential opportunities in this space, obviously we're looking at things like market cap, liquidity, maturity, but also clarity of investment thesis and overall sort of product and portfolio considerations in terms of how clients long-term are going to be able to use products in this space, build the types of portfolio exposures holistically that they want. And so that's a constant evaluation process. It's not a fixed point in time thing, but ultimately that's the kind of process that we deploy.
Take notice, everything that he mentioned, XRP is already covered in that. You know they are going to have an XRP ETF. We all know the demand is there. There wouldn't have been that many filings without any demand. Even Franklin Templeton, do you honestly think they would have filed for a spot XRP ETF if they didn't know that there was already demand out there? Same thing with the rest of these companies. And BlackRock knows as well. They just don't like to talk about Ripple or XRP at all. I'm telling you, I still think Robbie Mitchnick was deployed to BlackRock from Ripple. I think he was sent there by Ripple because they don't talk about, you never hear Brad Garlinghouse talk much about BlackRock. You never hear Larry Fink. He can't even talk about Ripple at all or XRP. Something much bigger is going on in the background. XRP price could reach $5 to $7 if XRP ETFs gain approval in 3 weeks as final countdown begins. I think XRP is going to run up into that. I think, in other words, people are going to get positioned before the ETFs get approved. And I think it could be a sell the news event. In other words, at first we see a slight dip. Then all of a sudden, with the inflows, a quick recovery. That could very well happen. But all the people that are making these predictions on how high XRP could go based on the ETFs, I think most of those predictions are going to be absolutely wrong. Because I think the demand is way higher than what people think. And I think a lot of people are downplaying it, underestimating it. And I think they're going to be shocked by it when it all happens. XRP price prediction. Ripple joins BlackRock in $700 million off-ramp deal. $1,000 XRP possible. Right now, everybody's talking about BlackRock's Bildel and VanEck's US V-Bill tokenized fund holders can redeem shares for RLUSD and ETH through Securitize and soon to come RLUSD and the XRP ledger. We talked about that news last week. Now people are saying this could get XRP to $1,000. I don't think we are going to see a lot out of this early. I think this is going to be something you have to watch over time to give a prediction on how high the price of XRP can go based on this happening. Right now, it's way too early. But to say $1,000, I think that's a little bit over the top. I think most likely this could give XRP a quick $20, $30, $40 push early on. Then we see where it goes from there. But first, this has to gain momentum still. It's still too early. Everybody wants to jump to predictions and start speculating. Let's see what happens first. AlgoPair co-founder says XRP will shock millions. Now they're citing the NDAs again. Everybody keeps talking about these NDAs. We're all going to find out who these NDAs are with over the next couple of months. It's going to most likely take years. And most of the time, these NDAs, they have a date that they're going to expire. That could be as far out as 2030, 2035. We really don't know. I think a lot of big things are happening behind the scenes. I think they're keeping the price of XRP suppressed still because a lot of people are now starting to acquire XRP. They're buying it over the counter. They're buying it through Coinbase. Others are just buying when people are selling. Institutions are going to buy up your XRP as you sell it in the very near future. That's why rushing to sell your XRP is not a good idea. Holding it longer term just means you're going to make more money. This is so early, but it's coming together perfectly. And early in crypto is most likely only a couple years out. In other words, within the next 2 years, I'm thinking crypto is going to be mainstream. I think everybody's going to be talking about it. Most people are going to be using it, not even knowing they're using it. I think the new financial system is most likely going to roll out sooner than later because a lot of things are happening there as well. It seems like everything's fast tracking, is what I'm saying. And everybody's in a hurry now. And I think that's a good thing if you want to make money quick, but I think it's a bad thing if you want to get things done right. Rushing to a new financial system might not be a great idea. And rushing into AI is definitely not a good idea. A lot of things could go wrong there. But wherever this goes from here, it ends up with us getting rich in the end. And until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.